Live from the Stream Center in Tampa, Florida, the home of News Channel 8, your official Bucs station. This is Bucs Bonus on WFLA Now, powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY.
It is do or die for Tampa Bay. First place in the NFC South is at stake for the Bucs this weekend. What needs to happen for Tampa to pull out a win? And we'll tell you who could be coming back from injury and how that would make an immediate impact for the Bucs. We have all that and more right here, right now on Bucs Bonus. I'm your host, Aileen Hnatiuk, alongside my teammate and your Bucs insider, Dan Lucas.
All right.
Yeah.
Say hi to our friends of the show. We have a few of them out there, and I know Mama Hnatiuk checks in
all the time,
every once in a while,
religiously.
So, yes, she is. She's a loyal watcher, and we hope she's doing well.
Yes, she is
today. Get the horses fed.
She had a recommendation, and
right,
is tie or no tie? If you're watching us, to put in the comments, right. Dan, with or without a tie. My mother says without.
I vote without a tie at all times, and without a jacket, and basically some khaki shorts and some flip flops. That's my uniform.
There you go,
yes.
like a true Florida man,
absolutely.
True Florida man, right there.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tampa Bay getting that win against the Panthers. It wasn't gorgeous. Second half was better than the first. Look, a win is a win in the NFL, right? Even if it's against the Panthers.
Well, you know what I'm seeing is, because we see a lot of highlights from different games, especially teams involving the NFC South, and you can chuckle all you want about the division and where it is, but I'm seeing a lot of similar games and a lot of similar plays, similar sloppiness, similar brilliance at times. Yeah. There is definitely a core of elite in the NFL, and then it's a bunch of mumble jumble. Yep. And the Bucs are in this mumble jumble somehow with a way to win their division in front of them. And this weekend, thanks to the win over the Panthers, they've set themselves up for kind of a game to kind of even it up and get to the final stretch.
What did you like and what did you not like when you watched this Panthers game? Because I think a lot of things were hidden because other things were shined light on.
I'll go all offense because I thought the defense did pretty well overall. I did not like the grind that was Baker Mayfield, and I loved the grit and getting it done. That was Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
I thought that was the poor guy had all the emotions you can have in a game, including the wet ball, lame duck interception. I mean, that just came at a bad time.
The weather was no good.
Defense bailed him out of that one. There were typical drops in there, not as many as we've seen before. The tight ends were not able to get active in this game. Chris Godwin was not able to get going, other than the reverse that he took in for a touchdown. But then
he's been dealing with injury too.
Yes, he has. Well, you got to understand also that there's, how did they scheme up the Panthers? Was this never going to be a Godwin game? Those are things that are inside involved in the game. But there was number 13 on the field who was in his form of what we know as a future Hall of Famer, something to behold. And anyone who was at that game, you got to see his career-long touchdown. You got to see career number 91. He's chasing Gronk. He's one behind Gronk now for, I think it's 12th overall all time. So that's cool. And
it is cool.
So you got to see some cool stuff.
A month or two ago, you were like, listen, for those watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now, you are witnessing history, generational talent when it comes to Mike Evans. And it's really special what we're getting to see from him.
There's a lot of folks, who've been around, like myself.
Like
you look up when you watch the team for so long and points in your life and different generations, you actually look at a Ring of Honor, and I've seen them all around the NFL and look at some of the big names that I remember as a kid. But when you look at the Bucs Ring of Honor, you really do see Derek Brooks on that field. I see John McKay in the hat on the sideline, and Jimmy Giles, but one day Mike Evans is going to be up there. So right now, especially kids who are going to the games and they have Mike Evans jerseys on. That's going to be there.
They're just hanging over the railing, like
that's going to be so awesome.
Dangling their jersey and White, please. It's so funny. I was taking pictures of it at the game, and I was like, make sure your mother catches you. You're just holding them by a leg over the railing.
Moms and dads taking their kids to the games, and Mike Evans is their hero. And 15, 20 years from now, they're going to look back on this. Is going to mean the world to them. So this is what we're witnessing
for sure
when it comes to Mike Evans.
Well, you mentioned Chris Godwin, right? In that game, he no catches for no yards. However, he did have the one carry for 19 yards that came with a touchdown. So that's great.
And he had to run through a guy along the sideline to do it. So that tells me that, like you said, he's been deeling with some injury issues, but he's willing to go in there.
He's willing to get it done.
He's willing to go in there and mix it up. But so good to see from him. Yeah. I just think the game kind of presented itself in a fashion where it was not going to be Godwin's game. Because it was weird to see the tight ends not involved in the pass either, and the tight ends like Otten have been very effective when they're used them certain ways. Rashad White once again an all-purpose day for him. I just think he's getting better and better.
20 carries for 84 yards.
Yeah, and I looked
with a touchdown.
Because of the matchup against the Falcons, I wanted to kind of hone in on Bijan Robinson. Where is this guy in the stats? And he's obviously above White. In yards per gain, all those categories. But Rashad White's right there. He's kind of above the middle of the pack, higher than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah,
I think he's over 630 for the season. He's getting it going, and this is coming from. And he's played 12 games, but this is coming from virtually non-existent for weeks, and it's getting better and better. So I think that as this offense grows a little bit, that Rashad White and the offensive line. Have played a role in that, getting it going.
Yeah.
I just want to see it open it up for Baker a little bit more.
Well, what I liked in that Panthers game is, as you mentioned, the grit of the defense. Okay, talk about how scarce that linebacker room is, and the fact that Ryan Neal, a safety, had to fill in for KJ Britt when he had his injury. I mean, next man up, right? But that's hard. That is hard to step in a role in a position where you're not used to playing that much. We did ask him, and he said, in some cases, like emergency cases, we've practiced it in 2-minute drill.
You don't normally see it though. Get to that extent where you just literally run out.
He looked around and he was like, wait a minute, I'm the only one left. So he hopped in there, and Antoine Winfield Jr., I talked to him after the game, and he gave him kudos and was just like, man, we were all kind of like, is this happening? Yeah, all right, it's happening. And he went in and he made a play right after that. Everybody was kind of like, Ryan Neal.
Same drive, a tackle for loss down there near the 1-yard line, and the Panthers wound up settling for a field goal on the drive. And that's just getting thrown into it. And the guy who was leading the way was J.J. Russell, who was already, in my opinion, a great story getting in there to play as it is. We met him a few years ago in Tennessee. We spent some time with him when the Bucs were practicing with the Titans. And at the time, he was, a roster bubble guy. And he was just a great story, great conversation with him, and was rooting for him. Of course, he didn't make the team. And he's been on the practice squad. He's been on waivers. He's been brought back. And he's a guy, Todd Bowles said last year in the season finale, they put him in to a game, and he didn't play very well. So to have him be, thrust into this situation... and perform the way he performed was really cool.
So cool
to see.
And after the game too, he was like blessed, grateful. Those were 2 words he just kept repeating over and over and over again when we talked to him. And you love stories like that. I love those kind of stories, those kind of players.
This might have been Bucs Panthers to many NFL fans, but to J.J. Russell, this was his Super Bowl.
This was his Super Bowl.
And he performed well. And you say, okay, moving forward, what are we looking at here? Well, Levante David looks like he's going to be okay to come back.
He was at practice today.
Not sure about Devin White, so you're probably and
Servassier Dennis.
If you played today, maybe you have Dennis and David on the field, but maybe it's David and J.J. Russell.
Well, J.J. Russell, let me see. I think he was second in total tackles. He had 7 6 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss. Who led him though? Antoine Winfield Jr.
Who's Mr. Everything everywhere?
Mr. Do It, literally Mr. Do It All Defensive Player of the Week.
How about that?
Walter,
NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Very cool. I think they've had one other. It was Camarda, Special Teams Player of the Week, and Winfield, who, by the way, yesterday was announced as the nominee for the Bucs for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. That announcement came out as he was painting a house for Habitat for Humanity, and so
Bob Hansen was there talking with him,
and just to me the most prestigious thing besides being a Hall of Famer, that you can have as a pro football player. So, for those who don't know, if you are the Man of the Year in the NFL, you wear the Walter Payton patch on your jersey for the rest of your career.
Yeah.
So, the guy you see all the time is Dak Prescott. It's on his shoulder pad there, so it's really cool. Drew Brees had it for years at the end of his career. So, if that's on your jersey, man, that is awesome.
Yeah, and
that is awesome.
Great guy on and off the field. So kudos to him. But what this game means with in terms of divisional standings and whatnot, I mean, the guys get it. The guys know, and it's funny because we've been saying for the last few weeks, it's like they've also been saying this too. They're 1 game out, 2 games out, 1 game out. Well, now it's all or nothing. Now it's make or break. You win this game, you're in first place in the NFC South division. You lose this game, you're pretty much 3 games behind with 4 games left. The last time they faced the Falcons was just ugly. It was disappointing. At that point in the season, it was the worst loss of the season. I mean, I just remember being in that locker room. Shaq Barrett too. I remember talking to Shaq Barrett, and then we spoke with him a few days after. He still wasn't over it. I mean, I asked a few of them today too. They're still pissed about it.
I would have to imagine they're still thinking about that game because they did everything they had to do.
Correct.
To come back and put the points on the board to win, and you think that it's mission accomplished, but it's never the case in the NFL because there was time on the clock for Atlanta, who got a huge play. I forget the yardage on the play down the field, and to get into field goal range and to beat them on a field goal was gut wrenching.
Yeah, and Desmond Ridder didn't even play well, dude.
Right? Yeah,
I mean, no one played well. It was like, here, do you want the win? No, I'm good. Well, do you want the win? No, thank you. And then it was like, well, maybe I want it. Well, it just went back and forth, and it was an ugly game. And they're all ready for this weekend. I'll tell you that. Ryan Neal included. I mean, just hearing him talk, I was getting pumped up myself. I mean, he's like, this is it, man. Like, this is it. We're here. We're not, we got to win. We have to do this. And everybody seemed to have a pretty good attitude about it and be on board. And the vibe and the energy in the locker room was great. So you love to see that. And I can't say Atlanta's fans aren't that bad. An away game in Atlanta, it's not like you're going to.
First of all, there's always a lot of Bucs fans at this game.
Yeah. Easy drive, 6-7 hours down. A direct flight from Delta.
There's just a nasty distaste between Atlanta and New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
And I think if you what is the one game in this division that is just absolute borderline college football rivalry? That's it.
But it has become the Bucs and the Saints now, which is so awesome to watch.
Well, I credit Sean Payton for that because he was such a vocal anti-Bucs person over the years. But no,
Antoine said today, he's like, I can't wait till we play the Saints. Like, I'm like, he's excited about the Falcons this weekend, but he was talking about the Saints already.
Yeah, I remember earlier in the year, Cam Jordan of the Saints getting ready to play the Bucs in the rivalry game, and he goes, "Our rival's Atlanta." So,
oh yeah.
So,
okay, Cam.
But the Bucs Atlanta rivalry, if you want to call it that, it's good. It's a good one.
It's alive and well.
And this is a chance for both teams to really, the Falcons can put the Bucs away essentially with a win. The Bucs can put absolute doubt into the minds of the Falcons with a win. Because they still got these other division games coming up, this round robin tournament that Todd Bowles calls it. Not to mention that the games that are out of the division, that the common opponents, like Detroit, for instance, the Lions, I believe the Lions completed the sweep of the NFC South.
Wow.
Last week they beat the Saints. So that's why you have the Saints dropping to the Bucs. It all evens out by the time it's over through common opponents. So any team that the Bucs struggled against, the NFC South teams are going to struggle against, at least within those divisional matchups. So the NFC South is playing the NFC North and the AFC South this year. So your common opponents are Packers, Vikings.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for the schedule there.
There you
So
go.
Colts, Titans, Jags. That Jaguar game, by the way, is looming on the calendar, Christmas Eve, as is the away game at the Packers. That is a 3-game gauntlet right there.
Yeah. Hey, that's a
coming
nice
up
word.
for the Bucs. Yes. And
You know where that word's from?
the gauntlet?
Well, it's Cody Malk said it the other week
Did
when he
he
got
say
hit in
gauntlet?
the face, dude. It was the funniest thing. I'm
Yeah,
sorry to
it was-
interrupt you. When we asked him about Burns punching him in the face, he goes, "There's a gauntlet out there,
It's a gauntlet, man. Well,
golly."
he's entering a golly
Anyways,
gauntlet
continue.
right now.
Yes.
This game. So yeah, you look at this. If you say, oh, okay, I look at the schedule and I see a win and a win to finish. What are they at now? 5. So that's 6, 7. Ugh. You got to go. You got to get at minimum one of these next 3 to get to 8. If you win those last 2 games.
Yeah.
If so, 8 and 9. I don't know if 8 and 9 wins the division this year like it did last year. You might have to get to 9. That's why the Bucs are so up against it mathematically that they virtually are in the playoffs now every week.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's how they've been describing this matchup is we are in the playoffs.
Right.
We treat every game like it's the playoffs, which of course, most of the guys say that, but right now it is for real. You know who else is for real about getting a dub this
I have an
weekend?
idea.
You might know.
He's got to feel pretty good, by the way, after last
guess.
week. He's got to be feeling better.
Let's see.
Hello, Aileen. This is Bucs Bonus. Look, I'm so happy to be a part of the Bucs Bonus, especially after that defeat last week. We put it on the Panthers. We proved to everybody that we have the answer to beat the Panthers. Now we're going to get ready to play the Dirty Birds. And you know what this is? This is going to be the division title fight for us. We're going round for round with the division leader right now. And come Monday next week, you'll see that the Buccaneers will be number 1 in our division. I can't wait. And tune in for Casey Sloan. She got what she have to say about the stats of the week, player of the week. All right, this is Buckified, and I'm out.
Okay, guys, I'm not going to say I manifested this, but we finally get to talk about a Buccaneers win, and I'm so excited because it was a must-win matchup that the Bucs needed to win to keep their playoff picture hopes alive. But one player stood out in particular, and I bet you can't guess who I'm going to pick for this week's Casey Stat Chat Player of the Week. Antoine Winfield Jr. finished against the Panthers with a game-high 8 tackles, 2 for a loss, 3 defended passes, a sack, a quarterback hit, and an interception. His sack against Young was his 12th since the start of the 2020 season, which tops among all defensive backs in the NFL over that span. The safety's interception was also his second of the season, tying his career high set in 2021. While the Bucs safety is this week's Casey Stat Chat Player of the Week, I obviously could not end this segment without discussing Mike Evans, who Antoine called a legend and a Hall of Famer after he notched 1,000 receiving yards for his 10th consecutive season to start a career. So that's all I have for you guys this week, and I'll see you next week when hopefully we can talk about another Bucs win.
Casey the GOAT, Casey Sloan. This is an article of hers, by the way, if you're watching. If not, just listen to me. Bucs Antoine Winfield Jr. nominated for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award. You can check that out on WFLA.com. But, Dan, she has a point there. And I love that she did bring up Mike Evans, too, because I was like, wait a minute. And then I was listening, and I was like, yes, atta girl. Gotta acknowledge both of those guys
Mike Evans
doing the Lord's work for,
we already
for the Bucs.
We mentioned his climb up the ladder of history. By the way, I mentioned Gronk. He evened up. He caught Devontae Adams, who's an active player. So now it's a race between those two at 91. That's kind of cool.
Love that.
Yes. So up the ladder he goes on the historical rung.
Yeah.
And Antoine Winfield is. I had a conversation with Rondé Barber past summer about him.
Yeah.
He is turning himself into a great player.
Yeah.
That was Rondé's to kind of take the way he was describing him. He has the ability not just to have a nice NFL career. He has the ability to have a great NFL career. So that's somebody that you want to see keep developing. They kind of changed his role a bit last year and then brought him more back into the traditional safety role this year. And what it's done is it's given him the ability to play just about anywhere he wants to play.
Yeah.
Where they want to put him on the football field. And that's why you hear his name all the time.
Yeah, that's a bad
so,
man
yes,
right
he
there.
is. He's one of the – he's turned into arguably the MVP of the defense with Vita Vea and the rise of Kelechi.
Yeah.
Those are three names on this defense right now that are phenomenal.
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Speaking of defense, Levante David, right? We mentioned him back on the field today practicing, as well as Servassier Dennis, and we did get the injury report.
Yes.
Let's go through it.
Hot off the presses.
Hot off the press. It's
what
only
sticks
Wednesday.
out to you here?
You go. You want me to go? You want to go first?
Let me take a couple of Bucs players.
Okay, go for
The names you just said: Levante David, Servassier Dennis, full practice. This was more of a walkthrough today, which this is how it's going to be this time of year, anyways, on a Wednesday. Bottom line, though, is it means if they were going to play a game today, they were going to play. So the boat that they were in the other day, having to move Ryan Neal at linebacker, at least on paper, these guys. With the exception of Devin White, his foot did not participate today. So they're not intact heading into this game. Devin White is the concern moving forward for the rest of the week. Cody Mauch, limited with a foot. Vita Vea with the same issue, a toe. He'll get to the starting line somehow. Robert Hainsey pops up here with a knee. He was limited. And KJ Brady got hurt in the game the other day, a back injury. He was limited, so go easy on him this week, and we'll see. So I think the biggest concern during the game last week was that interior linebacker group, and this is a good sign today.
This is great,
this is
guys.
a good sign.
If you're a Bucs fan, this is really, really, really good. I brought that up in my story today that I turned. So you can read it on our website again if you would like. Tune in, check that story out on our website.
So you go to the Atlanta side of things. Calais Campbell didn't practice today. It's rest, so that's a Veterans Day off. Cordell Patterson, the running back / kick return terror.
Yeah.
Also a Veterans Day off with rest. I'm going to go through some of these names here.
Go for it.
Caleb McGarry and Drew Dahlman, 2 offensive linemen, both one an ankle, one a knee. McGrary,
starting to sound like the coaches, an ankle.
McGrary,
he's got an ankle.
He's got an ankle. Did not participate. So a little bit of depth, it looks like, for Atlanta issues moving forward on defensive line and offensive line going into this game. Jeff Okudah, cornerback, ankle limited. So nothing that stands out to me as crucial.
David Onyemata, that's the one that stands out to me.
Yes.
If he's on the field, that's a problem. If
Did
he's
not
off
participate
the field,
in practice with an ankle injury.
DNP today, yeah. So
Yes.
bad for the Falcons, good
So,
for the Bucs.
yeah, that moving forward. That's that's an issue for Atlanta for sure.
Yeah, well,
So.
the main takeaway here is you want Levante David on the field.
Absolutely.
You want Levante David on the field.
He was missed the minute he left the field. That was during the Colts game, right after Thanksgiving. So, yes, he has been missed.
Yeah,
and like I said, when you're bringing guys out of position groups into somewhere else on the field, that's a problem. And
yeah.
they got through it. But let's have our regular guys.
I will say, how cool was it to see that, though? I mean, it really was. And he even got the game ball. They got 2 game balls were given away. One Mike Evans, the other Ryan Neal. And I don't know. I loved seeing that for them.
Well, Ryan Neal he needed it. He needed that game so badly.
He did.
I know it's a little weird being put into the position that he was in, although he fared well, and apparently he had one look at it at practice. But in other games, and I'm going back to the Houston game, there were pass plays where he kind of took the heat for big pass plays where maybe he wasn't even the guy he was supposed to be. Like the coverage wasn't even him, but he's the closest guy you see in the shot.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, what is this guy doing? Well, it's not even his not even his responsibility. He's just hustling over to catch up or cover.
Yeah.
I think
he said to somebody, he was like, just tell me where to go. Where do I go?
I think he's
like, what do
I think he's taking, well, he criticized, but that some of it I think might be a little unwarranted.
Yeah.
And so for him to shine in that spotlight last Sunday was cool for him. And
yeah, no doubt.
Should feel pretty good coming to work knowing he had a big game like that. Maybe that's a boost for him.
And can we talk about Yaya Diaby? We
yeah.
mentioned him a little bit recently, but I think we need to talk about a little bit more, especially just being a rookie and getting a grasp of the plays in the defense, and then just the looks, his visualization he sees on the offense. And
right.
Just, I think he has 5 sacks right now, which is second, I believe, on the defense.
Yes, 5.5 is the lead.
Don't quote me.
Vita's the lead with 5.5.
Well, there you go.
The thing about Yaya is when they had this draft, this was touted as a very strong defensive draft by the Bucs. And Kalijah Kancey was the headliner. And Yaya Diaby was kind of like the gravy for this. But when he was presented and his traits and what they were expecting out of him, you thought this guy could be a star.
Yeah.
And he's worked his way onto the depth chart in front of Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who they're sticking with him and they're trying to work with him to get him more up to speed or up to par, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But Yaya has, when a rookie gets to this part of the season and he's starting,
he's carrying
that's
weight.
Saying something.
This guy is carrying weight on the defense.
Absolutely.
Well, before we go, let's shout out the Mayfields. They are expecting a baby girl in April of 2024. So congratulations!
Yes, it's the human baby, as
Mr. and Mrs.
Baker
Mayfield.
called it. Yeah, the
human
baby. Yes, they've got their dog in the house. It's I would have to presume it's treated like a baby.
Yeah.
But yes, the human baby on the way, and that is so awesome.
The story is cool too. He said that the way he found out was the dog had a bib, and he thought that they were getting a puppy instead of, and he was like, I completely missed the ultrasound picture. And then he was like, I was in the doghouse for a little bit, but allegedly he's out now. So
plane blew up in her face. Oh, well.
I know. Well,
it happens.
He said too, he's like, oh man, I'm screwed. Like I'm about to be wrapped around her finger. So congratulations to both of them. That is really, really awesome. Well, yeah, you can listen to us every single Wednesday. We are here. We are on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all the things, sponsored by 1-800-ASK-GARY. And like Casey Sloan said, hopefully we're talking about a Bucs win next week after this weekend. So we'll catch you then.